We continue now at the top of Daf Mem Gimel Amid Beis in Meseches Bava Basra. This is Bava Basra Daf 43b. On the previous Amid, the Gemara quoted Shmuel, who said that one partner, if he watches the items for his other partner, so then he's considered to be like a shomer sachar, not like a shomer chinam. But the Gemara asks, Amai, why is this the case? Shmira b'bailam, it shouldn't even be like a shomer sachar, because there's a halach if you're watching while the bailam, while the owner is employed by you, so then that's considered shmira b'bailam, and there's actually an exemption in that case. The Rashbam here says, Shmira b'bailam, he shall call echon meshamer k'tzas min hashutfus b'beiso. Everybody is watching a little bit of what they own in partnership in his house. V'kaimelon b'bab mitzia b'hashoel, we've established in Bab Mitzia and Parak HaShoel, Shmira b'bailam potter, that if a person is watching and the owner is working for the shomer at that time, so then he's actually exempt. V'yaf agav dev'shoel ksiv, and now even though this is written by Shoel, P'tor d'bailam, this exemption of Shmira b'bailam is by a Shoel, ha'yolav shomer sachar hasamine, we learn shomer sachar as well. So don't you have the exemption over here of Shmira b'bailam? And the Gemara answers, Amar Papa says, Diyomar lei, the case over here is not that they're watching at the same time, but rather he says to him, Shemor li hayom, you watch for me today, Vani eshmor lach l'machar, and I'll watch for you tomorrow. Now if they do it in that fashion, so you don't have a situation where the owner of the item is working for the shomer at the time that the shomer is watching, and so therefore you don't have the exemption of Shmira b'bailam. And the Gemara continues at the two dots, Tanu Rabbanon, the rabbis taught, Machar lo bayis, machar lo sada, let's say he sells him a house, he sells him a field, Ein meid lo aleh, he can't testify for him regarding that house, regarding that field, mimnei shachrayu so'ala, because the person who sold it, he has a responsibility on that item, so therefore he has a self-interest, he has a bias, he cannot testify about it. On the other hand, machar lo para, let's say he sells him a cow, machar lo talis, he sells him a talis, then meid lo aleh, then he is allowed to testify for him about it, mimnei she'ein achrayu so'ala, because in that case, he does not have that level of responsibility, and the Gemara will now explain the two cases over here and what the distinction is. Ma'ishna reishu, ma'ishna seifa. The Gemara says, well, what's the difference between the reish and the seifa? Why is it that we're assuming in the case of the house and the field that he does have achrayas, in the case of the cow and the talis there's no achrayas? And the Gemara explains, Amar Rav Sheshes says, reisha, the first case of the brisa, the case with the house and the field, is the following scenario. But Ruvain shagazal sada Shimon. The case is that Ruvain stole a field from Shimon. The point over here is that Shimon is claiming that really it is his field and Ruvain stole it from him. That's Shimon's claim. Umachro Levi, and Ruvain, who stole the field from Shimon. Again, Shimon's making that claim. Ruvain went ahead and now sold it to Levi. V'yaso Yehuda v'kamar, but then Yehuda's coming along and he's saying it didn't belong to any of you. It's actually my field. Yehuda's protesting. So now Shimon wants to go along, and Shimon actually wants to testify that really it belongs to Levi. He's trying to establish that, as we're going to see in a moment, that's preferable to him. And so that's what the Bryce is saying. The lo lezil Shimon, la'asid leila Levi. Shimon can't go along and testify on behalf of Levi to place it in Levi's hands. Denicha dehadra, because he actually wants to return it to himself. The Bach Skir says, he wants to get back this property, and he feels it's advantageous to him if he testifies on behalf of Levi, and that's what it means over here by machar lo bayis, machar lo said. It's not that Shimon is the one that sold it, it's actually the person who stole it from Shimon. It's Ruvain who was the one that sold it to Levi, so Shimon is not allowed in that situation to testify on behalf of Levi. But the Gemara continues, V'kevan da'asid lei de Levihu. But one second, the whole case doesn't make sense. Why would it be an advantage for Shimon to testify that it belongs to Levi? Once he's testifying it belongs to Levi, hechi matzi mapik lamine, how can he later go ahead and get it back, get it out of Levi's possession? The whole idea over here is that Shimon is testifying he has a self-interest because he's going to try to get this house or field back. But if he's already testifying that it's Levi's, how does he then later testify that it's not Levi's, but it's really his? And the Gemara says we can answer that simply. Amar, what he says is as follows. He wants to go testify in court. Yadana dehayara delav de Yehudahi. I'm testifying, I know that this land does not belong to Yehuda. He's going to pair up with another witness. That way they'll get Yehuda off the case, and then he'll go ahead and he'll take it from Levi. But the Gemara still says, Uvahu zechusa to come mapik lami Levi, but whatever merit, whatever proof he has that he's going to use later to take it away from Levi, lifka mi Yehuda. Why doesn't he do the same thing to get it from Yehuda? Why is he bothering to put it into Levi's possession to keep it away from Yehuda to then go and get it from Levi? Why not just get it from Yehuda? And the Gemara says to that very simply, Da'amar, because he says to himself, Hasheni noach li harishon kasha himenu. The second person's easier for me to deal with. The first one is a more difficult person. That could just be the scenario. The scenario is he'd rather take Levi to court than take Yehuda to court. So that's Shimon's interest over here, and that's the idea of ein meid lo aleh. He's not allowed to testify in this situation. And the Gemara continues, V'iba, if you want, I could say another answer. Could go into Islay Sahadi Lamar, V'islay Sahadi Lamar. It could be, the case is as follows. Yehuda has witnesses on his side, and Shimon also has witnesses on his side. The Omer Rabbanan, the Rabbanan say, Arahecha Dekayma Takem. The general rule is, wherever the land is, that's where it stays. And so therefore, that's why Shimon is worried over here. Shimon says, if I can just keep the land in the hands of Levi, so then I'll be able to eventually get it back from Levi. Levi doesn't have any witnesses. But if Yehuda ends up getting that property, and then I try to take Yehuda to court, Yehuda has witnesses and I have witnesses, therefore Yehuda's going to keep it because it stays wherever it is in a situation of doubt. That's why he might prefer to leave it in Levi's possession, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Mem Dalid Amud Aleph.